Hey, thanks for stopping by the channel. Thanks for making sure you're subscribed and that you're checking out the bell icon down there on the screen somewhere below. When you check the bell icon, you're going to get notifications because you know you want to get all my content. As always, like, share, and comment. So, somebody asked me, in light of all of the changes here in the state of Marxisota, what my plans were. They're like, hey TC, what are you gonna do next now that it's been just a little over a year since you started your channel and the governor is starting to lift all the Coof restrictions and the mask mandate's been lifted for people who've received the Coof jab. What are you gonna do? You're not having anything to talk about anymore. And I was like, I guess it's a fair question since I launched the channel on April 25th of last year, 2020, because I did start it because of what I was seeing, and I was greatly concerned, and I think greatly so. But what I really want to be able to communicate to that person or anybody like that person is, you aren't paying attention. If you think I'm not going to have anything to talk about going forward, you think that just because the Coof restrictions are being lifted and the mask date or mask mandate, but the mask date has now disappeared once again. If you've had the Coof jab, how you're going to prove that and enforce it, I don't know. But are you really paying attention? What have we really gained? Especially when you turn on to mainstream media, legacy media, to the cathedral media, and you watch them pound home this recurring thematic nail of, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, get the jab, get the jab, get the jab, get the jab, get the jab. And now Supreme Chancellor Biden, co-Supreme Chancellor Biden, along with co-Supreme Chancellor Harris, said today in a press conference that it's the unjabbed people that will pay the consequences. Now, some people try to put a positive spin on it and say that, well, what he's saying is they're the ones that are going to get sick. They're the ones that are going to die and have permanent ailments and complications from the Coof. But I don't know that we can believe that. I really don't. As we look around, there are states, there are municipalities, federal government, and others. They're all taking measures and strides to create camps, if you will, isolation places, isolation camps that you can be removed to for exercising your right to refuse medical treatment or to refuse jabs, for whatever the case might be, whether it's a Coof or some other virus that comes along that has a better than 98% survival rate. So don't think for a minute that when somebody in a position like that, held by Supreme Chancellor, co-Supreme Chancellor Biden, says it is the unjabbed people that will suffer the consequences, don't think for a minute that he's not thinking long term, and it's got a lot more to do than just the consequences that they may suffer individually from a medical perspective. I really do believe that they're thinking long term, how are we going to hold these people accountable to our standards? And see, that's where we're at, and that's what I'm going to continue to focus on and think about. I had somebody send me a request to talk about health freedom, and I'm going to be really digging into the topic of health and healthcare freedom. I had somebody send me again yesterday another, here in the state of Minnesota at our state level. They have a sponsor in the state House and a sponsor in the state Senate for a new bill that is going to tread all over your individual liberties, all related to things like Coof restrictions or the next thing. So just because Coof seems to be dying out, and also if you pay attention to Supreme Chancellor Biden, co-Supreme Chancellor Biden's presser from earlier today, it's Monday the 17th as I do this video. But if you look at that presser from today, he's talking about states with lower percentages of compliance with Coof jabs are going to suffer the consequences. They're not done with this. But that aside, it's the next thing, it's the next thing, it's the next thing. I mean, they're literally right now, and I've mentioned this before, looking at somewhere upwards of $84 to $94 million in new expenditures for the Department of Justice to battle domestic terrorism. And on the top of their domestic terrorism lists are patriot groups. Now, are there patriot groups that are far right? Absolutely. Just like there are far left extremist terrorist groups like Black Lives Matter. And I'm sorry, you don't have to like it, but the organization Black Lives Matter is an extremist Marxist organization, and they're terrorists. They get what they get through the fear of imposing their will on people to the point of fear. Antifa is a far left terrorist criminal organization, but they're focusing on patriot groups, and all it takes to be considered a danger is to be non-compliant with the next thing that they throw at us. So what comes next for the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment YouTube channel, and for the website, and for the forthcoming podcast, and all the other stuff? I don't think I have to say it remains to be seen. I think the writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. There's going to be plenty of constitutional issues to talk about. There are going to be plenty of elected servants and public servants who are going to continue to abuse their power, who are going to continue to abuse their positions and that authority that's been granted to them by we the people under the Constitution. They're going to continue to take that power, abuse it, and try and keep it at all costs. So there's not going to be any shortage of things for me to talk about or for us to discuss. And there's going to be a lot more interviews and conversations going forward from this point as well, as I seek out other like-minded people, and even people that I don't agree with, or people that I agree with partially, or people who think I'm just absolutely bonkers. And I like those kind of conversations. So there's plenty to talk about. And if your mentality is, well, what are you going to do now? What are you going to talk about now? Then you're probably part of the problem, because this isn't going away. And the only way we get it under control is if we stay alert and stay alive and keep talking about what they're doing. So until next time, don't worry about being safe, live free, and sic semper tyrannis.